number 2, our final game of the night here. Bad Monkey Gaming versus Polymorph BMG. Up 1-0 after a, pretty crazy game at number 1 right there. A lot of kind of back and forth. I mean, BMG had a lead as far as stats go for the most part, most of that game, but Polymorph doing a lot of work. Hell, they got the 2 sets of racks down first before eventually losing it in the end. But crazy finish, fun game at that. Looking forward to seeing how the series now finishes. This being, again, game number 2. I'm joined by What You Got once again as my co-caster. So here we are, already developing with the picks. We got our initial bans of Lord Salforce, Pebbles, Hellbringer, and Midas. And now we have Parasite into Magmus, Kinesis into Warbeast. And there's Magebane at least now coming out for Bad Monkey Gaming. So a little bit of reaction to the first game. You got Salforce and Pebbles bans, of course. All right, so interesting draft so far. We're going to see the Kinesis probably in the hands of Boxy once again. Always entertaining. What do you think of the draft here so far? What you got?
Nothing really out of the ordinary. As you pointed out, a couple of reactionary bans, specifically the Pebbles and the Salforce. So those were changed up from last game. I forget what was banned instead of those heroes, but we do see Magebane getting picked up, and Boxy going to be playing his signature Kinesis. So, Deadlift going to be the 3rd pick for Polymorph. So probably going to look to maybe perhaps play some aggressive play style. They do have the Warbeast picked up as a carry of choice for them. But yeah, they are against the Magebane, so perhaps we could see some aggressive, make up a lot of early game movements with that Deadlift being picked up.
All right, yeah, the Deadlift, that 3rd pick. So now BMG has to figure out how they want to deal with him, if at all really possible. Almost just have to accept it again as far as the death grips and those doing some work. But, I mean, yeah, you've made it clear you're not a fan of playing against Deadlift especially. Is there a strategy? Like, is there heroes that you can pick or a ban here that makes sense? Or is it just whatever?
You mean to counter the...
Well, just dealing with Deadlift, I guess, yeah. Is there any way to really deal with them?
Well, he's just he brings a lot of pressure early on with the pushing power and just his overall gank presence with the death grip. So, you know, if you want to deal with Deadlift, you pick heroes that are hard to gank. Heroes like Miraxis, Lodestone come to mind, but you can also pick anti-push to be able to deal with his minions. Heroes that can easily take down the gravestones, so something like Parasite with the minions are okay. However, they are kind of countered in a way by the onslaught, so having ways to deal with the gravestones is also pretty important, I would say, because if he does get that resurrection off, it can swing the tides of team fights. So Deadlift does bring a lot of presence to the team fight for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
They get rid of the behemoth, so yeah, that's one of the best heroes, anti-push and team fighters against a lot of minions, so that makes a lot of sense. And they get rid of the Miraxis, as I pointed out, so yeah, the bans are pretty spot on so far. We get rid of the Sandwraith, the Tundra, and the Prisoner on BMG's side. So a lot of those lockdown heroes, Sandwraith, the ganking carry, they can be very active with the Deadlift lineup. So a lot of the bans make a lot of sense from both sides. So good bans.
This is a massive push here. I mean, they got the Warbeast and the Deadlift. Throwing that
Defiler
Polywog
here. Defiler.
There you go.
Polywog, Defiler, finish it up. Support in mid.
God, Polywog's a hero we haven't seen forever, man. And he is a fun hero.
A lot of lockdown from the Magebane. Push power with the lineup. Come on, pick Polywog.
Polywog wouldn't be bad.
So there's Lodestone, another good option. Very hard to bring down. He can get out of the immobilize from Death Grip with the Rocket Drill, so that's important to remember. And yeah, he's just very tanky, hard to bring down. Good anti-push with the Shatterstorm combination against the pushes. So yeah, just makes a lot of sense. Like to pick up a lot.
Right-click on a Gladiator over here. We'll see if that's... Maybe that and Scout, they've been right-clicking for a bit. Again, Scout has kind of grown to be this popular hero, especially when you happen to have a Magebane on the other side. So Definitely wouldn't put it past them getting Scout here at least.
Yeah, it depends on what direction they want to go for. If they go for the Gladiator, then perhaps. Oh, Polywog, let's go. Oh, yeah.
What an odd hero to suggest, and
Breaky, there's delay on the stream, right? Just
I'm
checking.
making sure right now.
Yeah, I love it.
What else is there to
There's
say?
going to be nothing short of action, I would imagine, again, in this game. Love to see the Polywog pick coming out. But yeah, as I pointed out, he has the lockdown for the Mage Bane, can crowd control him quite effectively with the Morph and the Tongue Tied, so there's the potential there. Definitely, along with the Voodoo Wards for that pushing presence with the War Beast and the Deadlift.
My curiosity is are we going to see him as like a heavy support, or will he be kind of a middle Polywog Priest? I guess they really couldn't do that. He kind of has to be a support, right? With how the lanes are setting up here, unless they lane the War Beast, but even that.
No, they could do a core Polywog. It's not out of the question. I think I myself prefer core Polywog just because he can get the portal key faster, have bigger mana pool through items, because his spells do cost a lot of mana. It's kind of similar to a Tempest, not in gameplay, but in terms of he has very high mana cost spells. You want to get all of the abilities because they're all very good. And you need a very large mana pool, so prioritizing farm on that hero is always good. So yeah, I much rather prefer a core Polywog. However, it's not out of the question to see him in the support role. We do see Solstice being picked up, so we're gonna see a laning Solstice because we do have a Parasite picked up, so that is very different. They do opt for that due to the heavy push lineup, so they're drafting a lot around having anti-push, being able to buy Magebane the time that he needs, because if they lose all their towers and Magebane can't get his core items, they will just simply lose the game in that regard. So they need anti-push, and they need to be they need a way to be able to team fight. There's going to be the scrap, so it could be either or. It could be core scrap, could be core Polywog, vice versa with the support role. We'll have to see what they choose to do. It's going to come down to whether they prioritize the level 6 on scrap or poly.
I want to figure out why you're suggesting though Solstice being the lane, like especially if he's being in the lane now. Like, so what makes him so good against counter push? Like why?
The ultimate. The ultimate is what is the anti-push. The W in the day form provides the vision and a little bit of dot damage. That's not a reason. That's not the reason why you pick up a Solstice against anti-push, but he has a skill set that suggests he can fight early on with the blinding dash or blinding rush, sorry, and the ultimate if he's able to channel that up. It's very hard to push into a Solstice, similar to a Magnus, but obviously Solstice doesn't need that portal key to channel up a good ultimate. He can use it from further away, so it's really easy to set up a defense, I would say, against a push lineup with the Solstice.
All right. Yeah, no, this draft just definitely took a left here after the first 3 picks. It's like,
yeah.
I mean,
2
even
junglers, one's going to be laning.
Solstice, like the obviously massive push here, including Polywog, which we randomly were guessing, and sure enough. But as you pointed out, and you really stressed there, he is heavy crowd control, so much like a Witch Slayer, where he will be able to lock down a specific hero for a while. Succubus is another hero that comes to mind that we just don't see often, but and
it's being played by Trumpsta, and he's a core player.
Yeah.
I believe Flash Farmer is their second support, if I'm not mistaken. He did play the offlane last game, so maybe they do swap up a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be, I believe, a support scrap and a core Polywog. So I really like core Polywog as opposed to support Polywog as a personal taste for the reasons that I pointed out earlier.
Yeah. Okay, get that portal key.
Deadlift actually buying the ward, so maybe we're going to see main support Deadlift, and this is so funky.
This is
how they're doing this. Magnus has laning items, so he is a core, at least in terms of items.
Huh, yeah, he's suicide down here.
Scrap is going alone. No, Warbeast is coming top. No, is he jungling? I don't even know. This could be a core Scrap and then a jungling Warbeast. Hard support Deadlift. Suicide Okay, so Suicide. It's even throwing me off what they're doing.
We're having a very entertaining finish, that's for sure, to the day here. The Deadeye Bounty League. So, yeah, well, what a lineup. But now, I want to stress this, that obviously this whole deadlift scrap combo for the while there was considered so, like, ridiculous and whatever. They did make a change a while back to where the onslaught no longer affects Borax. So that synergy isn't as powerful anymore. It's still strong. Like, deadlift is still a very powerful push hero in his own right. So it still is good synergy just for the simply push factor. But it does no longer do the onslaught synergy, just to point out. Affecting Borax.
So we've talked a lot about Hellburn's lineup, but even BMG doing some out-of-the-ordinary things. Fuzen specifically playing the Kinesis, which is 99% of the time Boxy Zero. So Fuzen taking over Boxy Zero for this game. And Boxy going to be playing the Solstice, so that's, out of the ordinary. But then they're also choosing to offlane their Magebane, and I think, to be honest, it makes a lot of sense in this game, because Magebane's impact is going to be quite low, given what he's playing against. Bloodlust does go in favor of BMG, Parasite with the rotation in onto Poliwag. It's a nice kill there.
Yeah, I caught that late. I guess that Parasite just coming out of the jungle. Catching him there.
But yeah, so the point I was going towards was they are choosing to sacrifice their Magebane in terms of his farm, putting him in the off lane, so not going to give him, that free farming head start. Parasite does get taken out. Nice shot from Warbeast there.
Yeah, they were dueling at it for a little bit right there. It was one of those cases of tempting fate, of basically making a point of one of us is going to die, who's it going to be? And sure enough, Warbeast won the battle there, so he was eating chocolate apparently, so...
Yeah, so they just stop fighting for 1 second. So Magebane, they are choosing to offlane him. So they want, their cores in the Lowstone and the Solstice to have the good start. So that way they can contest eventually when Polymorph decides to start grouping up and pushing towers. So it makes a lot of sense that they're choosing to offlane and sacrifice their Magebane, because, what impact is he really going to have if he is given free farm? He's still going to need a lot of time, even if he gets that fast cleaver.
Yeah, it's like you already made the pick happen. They kind of shifted into the idea of, all right, we're just going to go mass push, so you got to stick with the pick and kind of change it out. So I totally see what you're saying there.
And it makes a lot of sense. They adjusted to what they saw happening as the draft develops, and they figure Magebane, he's going to need a lot of time. He's going to not have a high impact early on. So we'll just sacrifice him. He'll get what he can get, and he'll recover as the game progresses. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so going to be the name of the game of you're going to lose towers. It's just keep them from overwhelming / especially pushing into the base. So that's like the big thing here for BMG, just accepting that towers will be lost, but try to save your base towers as long as possible, and eventually by the time for Magebane, of course. So, yeah, this is definitely, again, going to turn out to be really interesting as how we develop here. Now, Poliwag, obviously in the middle lane, dying there. Yes, hurts, but, frankly, this is also when you line up like this, yes, it's great to still have farm and get the early items, the LDRs and everything, but levels are also very important, arguably even the most important thing. So, Poliwag at least getting a level 6 is important. He is not level 5 yet. He will be here, actually, after a creep kill, so there you go. But Scrap is also level 5. Halfway through to level 6. So I wonder when Scrap hits level 6 if we're going to see that idea of I hit level 6, I'm going to spawn Borax now. Speaking of Scrap, though, they're going to gank him here top lane. And Baltazar even credit for the kill. This Lodestone, hell of a start for Makia here. Once again, 400 plus gold per minute. Bottom lane, Magnus also now in trouble. Here at the bottom, Solstice and Kinesis, as odd as a lane this is, they get the kill. On to Magnus. I never thought I would have been saying it. Solstice Kinesis lane takes out the Magnus, but it does. And this start's actually looking pretty strong for BMG now. Kind of slowing it all down.
And it's really important that they get these early kills, because that's just that much more that they have to work with, and that much more time that they have to buy themselves to be able to deal with this very aggressive push strategy. That Haystern spawning in the top river at 4 minutes, very important. Taking down Scrap, going to slow down his level 6 by just a little bit, but that gives a kill to Magebane, and he gets just a little bit extra farm.
There goes the top tower, so it's begun. Now, we've seen a deadlift do this before. I still do not get it. There goes Vorax, by the way, at the top lane. He's not leveling up Onslaught. I don't get this logic. Why are you running a massive push lineup with Deadlift in it if you're not going to get the ability that makes him that massive? I guess this, you can argue, is E does. The Dead Shall Rise is very good for that too, but the Onslaught seems to me like that big pushing tool. I don't know. Am I overreacting or what?
Middle lane, we do see Lodestone getting a solo kill onto Poly, so
yeah, he's having trouble.
Lodestone just really taking off. But yeah, you bring up a good point, but I think what it comes down to is that if you do, he could probably spec 1 point and sacrifice either a point in Death Grip or a point in the Dead Shall Rise, but the Dead Shall Rise is really his pushing power, and the Death Grip is really his killing power. So he kind of just wants those two to be as strong as possible. He is being played as a support, so his levels are going to be, you know, a little bit lacking in terms of the rest of the team. But they are going for a base tower with Vorax still at about 60% HP.
Huh. Well, so this is
base
really
tower is going to take some damage.
Yeah, it is. Now, Polywog was dealing with Lowstone here in the middle lane, but now Lowstone, he survives the ward trap attempt, and now Lowstone's at the top lane with a double damage rune here. He missed the rock control, though. He doesn't have a Shadow Storm or anything like that. Big burst from Solstice, though. Down goes Lodestone. They got the kill on a scrap, however, as the rest are on the run. Is the Gravestone over there? No, they killed it, so no chance at resurrection. It doesn't even have it, actually, so never mind. But yeah, so same Polywog, he actually used the wards to try to kill a hero, which was unsuccessful. And instead, you know, he could have maybe pushed middle tower if he still had them, obviously. Yeah. So a little unfortunate with that. But still, you see the pressure being put out by the Hellborn team. The fact that they're already pushing the tier 3 tower at 7 minutes into the game.
And look at how much damage it took.
Yep.
Now they did lose Scrap or no?
Scrap, yeah.
Or did? Okay, so they lose one hero, but they were able to take the base tower that put that much damage on the base tower. So Shatterstorm coming in middle lane. Warbeast.
And Warbeast, yep.
It's gonna be bursted down. Yeah. So, you know, it's a trade-off. They do lose the scrap. You know, they give up a kill, but they put a lot of damage on the base tower. Mm-hmm. And something to remember is that base towers do not regenerate HP. So that base tower will stay at that HP the rest of the game or go, you know, lower. Whereas, you know, if that damage is being done to Raxes, they do regenerate. So that is very important to remember as well.
Vorax coming bottom lane now, so yeah, the top tower, all that damage. They're not going to worry about it just yet, though. Want to pressure now the other lanes, get all the outer towers, if anything. Solstice is down here, actually using that luminescence here, but he is going to be found. Polywog Priest, meanwhile, off to the side, going to be stunned. He does have those wards, he's invis, so yeah, that was just a random stun. But he is fine. Eruption being channeled by Magnus, actually going to be a pretty big one at that. What an eruption from Snooki there, double tap. Coming out, and the start is huge for this Hellborn team. Vorax is here as well. They catch Magebane off to the side. He goes down. You see Lodestone, he's caught by the Death Grip. Is it enough follow-up damage? Yes, it is. The Rat Trap helping to secure that, and now the tower is going to fall. Polymorph, that is a big fight for them, and now the train. This is going to be so difficult to stop here after a fight like that.
Yeah, this is when it gets really scary. Not only are you losing the towers that you're trying to defend, but you're losing your entire team as, you know, at the simultaneously. So, you know, it's kind of like the double whammy. You know, we're trying to defend the tower, but we lose it, and we give up a full genocide. So yeah. It's going to start to become that snowballing effect, unfortunately, for BMG in favor of Polymorph.
You see right there, they were a little bit unsure of whether they want to keep going or not. They decide it's best to fall back, and yeah, that makes sense. You know, still we're not even 10 minutes into this game. It's always important to look at the clock in lineups like this. So yeah, it's still very early on. They don't need to break the base just yet. They got this solid lead, as they should have with this lineup. And now it's about, you know, resetting, getting more items, spawning another Vorax in 50 seconds here. And then going with that again. Ideally, get a level 11 scrap would be important too, but I don't think they're going to be able to get that, unfortunately. Again, that's where the downside comes in, is obviously grouping up constantly, is your experience will be nerfed amongst one another. But overall, things are looking great for them right now. Tablet of Command picked up by Polywog. Fantastic to see that, of course, for the team. I was making sure with all their auras and everything. I mean, they got the important ones, Abyssal Skull, Plated Greaves. So they are taking care of those.
They have
Bulwark, not yet.
Bulwark onto. Oh, they do. Deadlift just bought it, and I believe it's flying out.
Oh, well, there you go.
Top lane, Mage Bane has the blink ready to go. Oh, Death Grip. It's not going to stop his TP. Oh, Magnus gets the stun, so Mage Bane is going to go down. Yeah. I wanted to point out, so you brought up about Deadlift in the Onslaught. I actually don't have the most experience with Scrap, and I was wondering what your thought was on him maxing the Zoom Ring versus the Scavenge, because to my knowledge, it's the third skill that keeps the Vorax upkeep with the heal.
Yes.
And is it the right decision for him to not max that over the Zoom Ring?
He did level up Zoom Ring first, you're right. Now, I'm not an expert by any means either, but yeah, just like thinking about it, it does feel like, yes, Scavenge, maxing that out first, you're getting the most efficiency out of this grouping up and push idea. I will say Zoomerang is a pretty powerful tool in general, not only for damage, but picking up morsels as well that are on the ground. So it's a great tool for reaching and getting ones that may be like a little too far, or like these ones like in their base like that. So now whether you need to max it out for that purpose, I guess it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I don't know. That's a little curious. But Shatterstorm initiation, that's going to be a big one at that. Here's some follow-up to Eruption, though, being channeled by Magnus. You see Vorax still beating on the racks in the background as Solstice will go down here. So far, a 1-for-1. Polywalk didn't get off his wards. That's actually pretty crucial right here as well. But Mageman in the background. Can he actually survive this? No, he cannot. Cannot blink away in time. There is a Gravestone down, actually, but no mana on Deadlift. Okay, he has it now, but it was killed, actually. So never mind there. But they're going to get the racks anyways. So one set of racks will be destroyed now in their favor here as Lodestone. No, this is not going. It's not going to be worth it, but no, the push successful.
I'm trying to figure out why Poly chose not to use the wards, but I guess in the end they didn't need it anyway. They get the racks. They only lose the one kill. Deadlift tried to resurrect him, but it did get stopped, I believe, by Magnus during the channel, so wasn't able to respawn Poly. But yeah, I was kind of wondering, you know, before he got initiated on, how come he wasn't using it, but in the end doesn't end up mattering anyway.
Yeah. Maybe use it for, I mean, yeah, he probably should have, but hey, it's, like I said, it's not going to matter. They do get the racks, got what they came for. And
Magnus has his portal key now, so they have the initiation and jump factor. Will they look to do something like the Kong, where they have a lot of auras, so Kong shouldn't be too difficult to bring down. And it looks like they're kind of in the area. We do have a word of sight here placed by Make on the uphill, so they should see this. And I don't know, I don't think that they can even contest it, so that's the one downside to having the information, is not being able to contest it.
You know, I was going to bring actually middle lane. They're going to jump Polywalk here. Magnus is nearby, though. He's able to stun and maybe get a turn kill. Maybe get the wards out, ward trap. No, not going to go for it, actually. Wants to save the wards for pushing, I guess. If Loso survives this, though, it's definitely a missed kill attempt. They're going to get it anyway, so worth it in the end. And Kongor, obviously, still plenty of life, but again, it's how much time do they want to spend continuing to do that. Vorax is ready. Okay, there we go. He does spawn at bottom, actually. Okay, I thought he's for sure going to go middle with it, but wants to now push the bottom racks. They may individually push the middle, looks like. But they are going to eventually push the bottom. Yeah, I wanted to bring this up, too. Gnome's Wisdom picked up by Scrap, and I was going to bring that up earlier. I thought it would still be good to get, even though you have an Abyssal Skull, especially now with it providing magic armor, of course. I was wondering if they were going to, though, but sure enough they do. So they're getting everything, man. They're getting all the auras. And it's clear that they've at least practiced. We've seen a couple teams try similar ideas, similar strats, and honestly, it just feels like the execution just isn't there. But they've done this before, whether it's in TMM or whatever. But
yeah, and the last time that I remember seeing this heavy push lineup, they were playing against the Behemoth, which, you know, that's probably the best hero in the game against these types of lineups. So you just can't let that hero go through if you are going to go for something like this. So yeah, they did get rid of the Behemoth this game. Base Tower is taking a lot of damage.
Lodestone background again, gonna jump in. Polywalk does get the wards down this time. Big eruption as well. It's a cluster of a fight. Parasite and Lodestone are gonna fall. Solstice trying to live. Buybacks happen though. It looks like Parasite does. Is that really gonna matter though? Vorax is still doing the work. Only death so far is that Polywalk already placed the wards as mentioned. I think this could be it. I'm pretty sure Polymorph is gonna do it right here. I mean, one Rax is something, but two sets, it's basically a point of almost GG really. Now, whether or not they do is up to them, of course, but That's got to be so frustrating and difficult. 15 minutes essentially into the game. You're already down 2 sets of racks now. Yeah, you see the talk coming out a little bit in chat. I mean, yeah, it's considered this cheese, whatever you want to call it, but it's there, and they made it work. We've seen teams do it before, like I said, and it has failed many of times in the past. So just because it's may not be like, just because it may not be considered like a fair strategy in some ways, doesn't mean, hey, you're able to pick it up yourself if you really think it's that unfair. So Lodestone, he's going to go down. Solstice, he is too going to get caught, and yeah, it's just a matter of time now. It feels like the end is near. There we go.
Magebane just unfortunately can't do anything, offer something to his team at this point. Excuse me. Same with Parasite. He's not really a hero that deals with push. He's, an individual ganking hero, has 2 single target spells. So, just the lineup in general, they don't have, the heroes that are able to deal with this type of strategy committed. Only having a couple anti-push heroes. So.
That's also what I want to bring up too. Like, whether or not Polymorph had that intention at the beginning of the draft there to go this lineup, who knows? But honestly, isn't it? Can't you say that it's a smart draft against a Magebane, especially? Magebane's considered this top tier carry hero right now. How do you deal with him? There's a couple ways out there. Scout considered decent and whatever, but hell, push the game and make it so he's not going to be relevant. And they essentially did that with the lineup here. And it worked out beautifully. So I give props to their draft, really. No matter what.
Yeah, you can't overshadow the drafting stage. Parasite and Magebane, the 2 heroes that I said, weren't able to do a whole lot against push lineups, were picked up in the first 3 picks. And, that's smart recognition from King Nikke, the drafter of Hex. He sees, okay, these 2 heroes aren't going to do anything if we do draft a push lineup. Let's go for an all-in push lineup. It should work. And it came through.
It sure did. So just updating the standings right here, finishing that up, and be able to show you guys how things are looking now through 4 days in total of the Deadeye Bounty. A couple of weekends wrapped up here, but again, still plenty more to come here. So, yeah, still about a month and a half, guys, at the group stages here, so there's still plenty more. We got the standings. Here you go. This is how things are looking, and again, it's looking pretty good. We got Fresh and Druids currently sitting in that top spot, each with 7 points and a 2-1-0 record. Then you got Bad Monkey Gaming in third with 6 points at 1-3-0. And then it kind of spreads out from there. So, yes, again, there's obviously still plenty to play. You got teams like Wapdash, only 1 match. Sync hasn't even played a match yet. So that's always fun to see, how things, again, are shaping up here. But what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 more days here at the group stages. So, yeah, really another month here of the group stages. And then even the brackets for the Deadeye Family League after that on top of that. So a lot of Han here coming out for the Deadeye Family League. Looking forward to all of that here. So what you got? Want to thank you for joining me today. Always a pleasure. Any shout-outs, any final words before we wrap up here?
Of course. Let's see. Shout out to my teammates in Complexity. Shout out to our sponsors. Shout out to some friends, Reg Roasty, Minnesota. Shout out to Slaske, who played earlier today, and shout out to Street.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thanks to you guys for tuning in.